Hello, my name is Agata Mouasher. I'm from the Griffith Business School, and today I'd like to talk to you about reimagining assessment. The challenge that I faced was which is better, assessment for learning as opposed to assessment of learning. How do we design courses that satisfy the institutional requirements to quantify our results with the idea of inspiring continuous lifelong learning? I redesigned a third-year course in intercultural management for a dual mode offering. I wanted to combine the best of educational design pedagogy with my desire to inspire students to enjoy the journey as opposed to just racking up points, and also my commitment to have them leave the course with experiential learning. I adopted an assessment for learning approach rather than an assessment of learning approach from the start to the very end of the course in designing it, but also then in communicating and instilling this approach with students so to encourage their ownership. Where I come from is, what is the purpose of learning? And I see it as producing individuals who have the qualities of being lifelong learners and lifelong questers. So therefore, what is the purpose of assessment? Assessment is the evaluation, yes, of knowledge and skills as one outcome, but if you take a longer term view, we see that assessment should really contribute to fostering that continuous lifelong learning in students. So with that in mind, we moved from 3 assessment items, inclusive of an exam, to 3 items without an exam, but those 3 items were broken into 8 submission points, which we called learning milestones, not assessment items. We introduced teamwork versus individual work. We delivered the entire course in a semi-intensive mode in 2 blocks. And our approach of assessment for learning versus assessment of learning was continuously discussed, instilled and encouraged with students to create a sense of ownership. Learning, first of all, was scaffolded. It was aligned to the learning objectives. Assessment was simpler, though lengthier. The focus was on the application of tools and knowledge learned to self, to team and to the problem. In terms of quantitative measures, I maintained a near 100% attendance for on-campus sessions. Online attendance was lower, which is expected, but it remained consistent between 19 and 25% attendance. However, the viewing statistic of online students of the entire cohort afterwards of the recording was 92%. Also, all students at one point or another made contact with me directly, and at least 60% of the entire cohort maintained numerous and regular communication with me, so it was a very hands-on involvement. In terms of learning outcomes, students' feedback showed that they were overwhelmingly positive about the course and their learning. It showed that they were able to see challenges not as setbacks, but to see challenges as learning opportunities. And they became empowered by their challenges instead of seeing them as failures. So if you're looking to implement this in your teaching, I would say that look at the learning as the ultimate goal, not teaching strategy, but learning, and not the acquisition of knowledge and skills. So in other words, begin with the end in mind, whether it's a graduate attribute or a learning outcome. Then work backwards to align with any institutional constraints. We had constraints with time, location, cohort size, technology, etc. And for this to work, it requires a top-down approach. That is the adoption of this type of philosophy at a degree level support and integration to curriculum mapping, and not just an ad hoc course level design. A point to note is that this approach is support intensive and may not be scalable to large cohorts. It does require additional inputs from conveners and tutors to provide that continuous formative feedback at numerous milestones. Thank you very much.